And welcome to this edition of the Scanner Guys. And many of you probably saying, wow, there's two shows in one night. And that's what we're doing. So Train Aficionado aired at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're live here at 8:46 Eastern Time for the Scanner Guys. So many of you probably saw on social media somewhere, Whistler, no more. I don't know what's going on. I don't have any insider information regarding what's happened to Whistler. If you go to their website, it's basically been pulled down. Their Google profile is basically says they're temporarily closed, and nothing more. I don't know what happened over there, but it seems like Whistler may have closed up shop. Whether temporarily or permanently, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been asking me, do you know what happened at Whistler? I don't have any inside information regarding Whistler, but it's kind of sad to think about, Uniden is now the only scanner company that's out there producing scanners without any healthy competition from Whistler. Although it's been very quiet, Whistler hasn't produced any new models in quite a long time. I believe the last two new models that they had was the TX1 and the TX2, and originally they were going to release something with the TX100 and 200. They announced that, and then they ended up pulling that back. So quite interesting, with that news that's going on. So be curious to see what Uniden comes out with, hopefully with something new in 2025, possibly, hopefully. Give us something more to talk about, of course, on the channel. Speaking of the channel, we are going to launch some new programming starting in the new year. Of course, we're trying to give you the most information we can regarding, any new products or tips and tricks for, of course, for scanning as well. So one announcement, I want to get this over with. So let me just pull this up on the slideshow, and we'll talk about this in a sec. Right now, so a slight programming change. In the new year, we will be producing new and live shows, which will air on the third Wednesday of every month. So typically, right now, the Scanner Guys airs on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. We're shifting the programming. So Train Aficionado Live will be on the first Wednesday of every month, and then the Scanner Guys will be on the third Wednesday of the month. We will also be posting... Sorry, I still get this pesky cough. So sorry. We'll be posting some bonus YouTube content, which will be released throughout the month. So make sure you become a subscriber of the channel. And when you become a subscriber of the channel, you'll get notified when a new video drops. And of course, we'll be posting that on social media as well. So if you don't already follow us on Facebook, definitely do that. Hold on, one moment. So sorry about stepping away. I had to get something for my throat. I've still got this cough, this pesky cough, so I do apologize. But yeah, so we're reducing down the number of shows for both Train Aficionado and Scanner Guys. I'm an active member of the Cincinnati Railroad Club, and I've been recently newly elected to the board. And once I became a part of the board, they've elected me to become president of the organization. So I will have some commitments there. So I'm kind of balancing everything that I do. Train Aficionado, the Scanner Guys, the stuff that I do with the Cincinnati Railroad Club, but of course working full time. As many of you that watch the program, both programs weekly, this is a one-man show. So there's not a team of producers and content creators. It's just me. So what does that mean for programming coming up in 2025? Well, I'm dipping my toe into GMRS. So I'm going to be doing some shows kind of talking about GMRS communications. We're also going to continue doing new product review videos. And also some more tips and trick videos. And then, of course, preparing and doing all types of cool stuff with your scanner shacks. We'll have of course, our shack show, where we'll have you guys send in your shack photos. I love doing those shows when you guys send us your shack photos, because I'm able to see what various people have done with their scanner setups. So we'll definitely do that in 2025. So I'll be eventually soliciting for shack photos to be featured in an upcoming show. And then basically we just watch the slideshow and look at various people's shack photos. I really love that because you get a lot of ideas from people. The cough is just a cold. I've been dealing with it for a little bit. It's just got the lingering cough. Nothing to worry about there. So this show's going to be relatively short tonight. I just wanted to kind of announce the programming changes for next year. That the show is now going to move to the third Wednesday night of every month. For the Scanner Guys, Train Aficionado will be on the first Wednesday of every month. And then periodically you'll have content sprinkled in throughout the month on the YouTube channel. So that's the big thing is subscribe to the channel. So you'll get notified of any of those bonus content that gets uploaded. The other thing that we're going to be working on the website with the scannerguyshow.com, the blog. So we're going to start doing, we, meaning me, going to be doing some blog entries as well. So you'll be able to see some online content on the website as well regarding blog entries, quick and fast type of things. I still have to do the unit and waterfall review. I just haven't had a chance with everything going on, but I need to sit down and do that. Steven asked a question, with so much encryption taking place, coupled with the relatively new SDS 100 and 200, encryption is what will drive Uniden to release more models? No, I mean, essentially, encryption is the end-all for scanners. Unfortunately, when a department goes encrypted, there's no way to monitor that department when they're encrypted. So if your local police or fire department does go encrypted, there's no way around that unless they turn off the encryption. I believe the scanner industry is going to, of course, be still police and fire, depending on where you're at, to be able to monitor those communications. The other thing is, Watson, you all right over there? He's getting comfortable. The other thing with the scanner industry, you're going to notice that, they're probably going to chase down more hobbyists of other hobbies. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that are into aviation. So, maybe photographing planes and what have you is your big thing, but you can use a scanner to assist you to do that, to listen to the planes. Same thing with rail fanning. Great thing about rail fanning, you're able to do photographs or videos or watch trains, but the great way to follow trains, of course, is listening to them on the scanner, being able to hear, the engineer call-outs or just monitoring the day-to-day communication of the railroads. So, I mean, the scanner hobby is not dead. It's kind of evolving, I would say. There's a lot of agencies that are not encrypted. You'll see a lot on the forums that you'll see people say, my town's encrypted, that's the end of the world. Nobody can hear anything. But the thing is, yeah, your city or town police department or fire department may be going encrypted. Doesn't mean the rest of the world has gone encrypted. So a lot of times you'll see those people sounding the alarm bells on social media and the forums, scanner industry is dead, blah, 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 blah. Just because in your neck of the woods they're using encryption doesn't mean up the street, the next town over, the next city over is encrypted. Does not mean that in the case. So, a lot of the Debbie Downers are usually on social media and they'll basically say, and I get it occasionally on the Scanner Guy's social media. And they're complaining, well, you don't need a scanner anymore. Everybody's encrypted. But yet you're still following my scanner Facebook page. So, I don't know. I mean, people love to complain. But for the most part, there's a lot of stuff that's still in the clear. And in many cases, law enforcement may go encrypted in a certain community, and the fire department will stay in the clear. In that case, monitoring the fire department, you can get a lot of information listening to the fire departments. They respond to a lot of the calls, motor vehicle accidents, shootings, domestics. They're rolling to a lot of things. Fires, of course. So listening to fire departments, you can get a lot of information about what's going on in your community. Essentially, everybody thinks of a scanner and they think of police. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can monitor on the scanner. I mean, there is a wide variety of things, from police and fire to highway departments to buses, whether it be passenger or school buses. Well, they're both passenger, but, transit buses or school buses. There's railroads, aviation, maritime. I mean, heck, you can monitor CB radio on there and listen to those people communicating. You can monitor GMRS communications. So there's a lot of stuff that you can listen to on the scanner. Because of encryption doesn't mean, because your city or town is encrypted doesn't mean the rest of the world is encrypted. Yeah, there's a lot more encryption out there than there used to be, 10 or 20 years ago. I will agree with you there. What other questions do we have this evening? We can kind of run this as a Ask the Scanner Guys at Hawk. Somebody asked in the chat, will Uniden come out with a handheld scanner with integrated GPS? Great question. And I don't know why they haven't done it, other than the great thing about them doing it the way they're doing it now is you buy your scanner. You want GPS, you have to buy an accessory. So it's an add-on. So Uniden basically will make money on the add-on. The problem with integrated inside the radio, and you'll get the people that complain and say, oh, the radio's so expensive. Yeah, because you've added more technology to the radio. So now there's GPS included. I mean, just think of if you've got the SDS 100 or 200 and they added in automatically Pro Voice, DMR, and NextEdge. That price is going to go up even higher. Why can't they just sell it for that price and not include, include those things? Because Uniden has to pay basically licensing for every radio that those formats are activated on. So Uniden decided, when they released the SDS 100 and 200, to release it as an add-on. For me, maybe I don't need DMR. Maybe I don't need Pro Voice. Maybe I don't need NextEdge. So why am I going to pay, hundreds of dollars for all those add-ons when I don't need it? Maybe for the guy up the street, he needs NextEdge. So he'll do that add-on. And maybe for the lady that's in the next city over wants Pro Voice for whatever reason, or DMR. So that's the reasoning behind that. And the thing about the GPS integrated, it would be great if it was. But I'm wondering, it really wouldn't drive up costs that much on the radio, but still, I don't know why they haven't done it as of yet, other than being able to sell you an additional accessory. And I'm not too sure how many people use the GPS scanning. I know there's some people that actually use it, and then there's other people that don't. For myself, I do use the GPS scanning in my truck. I've used that for years. When I had a 996 in there way back when it was a T or an XT. I can't remember which 996 I started off with in the truck. And I had GPS. I basically programmed the radio up with all the systems and groups, and then, of course, put Latin long for each programming in there. And then I was able to travel. Works great. It turns things on and off as you travel. The great thing about, the database scanners is you can do the same thing and not have to do all that legwork of programming, latitude, longitude, and all that other stuff. So there is probably more people that are using GPS out there than there was way back in the day. James asks, I don't own a computer. Should I get the SDS 100? Most of the newer radios are complicated to program. So if you were to get a scanner, I would recommend going to Scanner Master and getting it programmed. Whether it be the SDS 100 or the 436 HP or a Home Patrol 2, or even if it's a 325 P2, which is a clean slate scanner, get it programmed. The thing with all of these radios, if you're not technically savvy, it's hard to be able to program this through the keypad. It can be done with certain radios. But keep that in mind. So yeah, I would definitely say, you probably want to get it set up and optimized by a company called Scanner Master. They could create a favorites list for your local area. If you want to make changes on there, I would recommend, unfortunately, having a friend download the Sentinel software. And that's pretty easy to operate. There is a video on the YouTube channel for how to do that. But a lot of times it's hard to get around, not using the computer with these new radios. Uniden's added GPS and Wi-Fi to their latest radar detectors along with an app. I don't know. I mean, that could be a direction that they may go in with scanners. I have no clue right now what they have up their sleeve. I'm sure they're going to come up with something groundbreaking, and hopefully that'll be something that people want. Anthony's asking, good evening from Houston, Texas. Any new scanners for Railfanning coming out in 2025? Well, new Railfanning scanners, really the 125 AT is going to be your best option. For handheld, if you're looking for straight analog, if you're looking for something that has NXDN capability, then you want to look at the BCD 160DN. Those are going to be your two handheld radios to keep in mind. And of course, if you're looking for a base model for Railfanning, you want to take a look at the Uniden Bearcat 260DN, which is the base mobile version of the 160. So there are already Railfan scanners coming out there. Uniden is already supplying those to you at a reasonable price level with a 125 AT, right around $130. So if you're on a budget, you're not worried about NXDN right now, 125 AT is your go-to. $130 works great. My go-to handheld scanner. If you're not looking for NXDN, if you're looking for NXDN or trying to future-proof when they do go to NXDN, then the 160DN, Unit and Bearcat BCD 160DN, would be the other model to take a look at. Eric's asking, do you think the SDS will have a built-in GPS Bluetooth capability for earbuds? I've heard the S. I love it. I feel things are missing, though. So if they were to come out with a new SDS, it's a possibility with GPS and Bluetooth built into it. But keep in mind, for those of you out there that complain about the price, adding these new features is, of course, going to increase the price. So keep that in mind. But, it could be a possibility. But, that could increase the price. You're adding more technology to the unit itself, GPS and Bluetooth. So that adds on to that sticker price. So keep that in mind. But, that could be possible. Mad Dog mentions most people use scanners for police and fire. Encryptions definitely has dampened the hobby. Encryption is going to be nationwide soon enough. That's not the case. Nationwide is a lot to be said. So for the most part, encryption is decided upon police chiefs, fire chiefs, or whoever's in charge of that particular agency or department. So there are some police chiefs out there and fire chiefs that want transparency. So I've seen a couple of areas where the encryption has gotten turned off. So it depends. I don't know if it's ever going to be nationwide, but there is a lot of things still out there to monitor. And there's still going to be departments out there that want, transparency. Polk County Sheriff, Volusia County Sheriff Department. It's fully wide open. A lot of Florida counties are open to hear public, able to hear for the public. Yes. So all depends on where you're at and who's in charge. So essentially, that kind of dictates, whether or not they use encryption or not. Sorry, I'm just reading through the comments at the same time. Another question, Anthony, for Railfanning scanner antennas. Train Aficionado, if you're just joining this channel for the very first time, the Train Aficionado channel is the other channel I host shows on. And I've covered some antennas on there. There's a video there that probably will cover some of the greatest antennas. Smiley makes a really great rubber duck antenna. Smiley antenna. Made right here in the United States. They have a couple of antennas that are on their website for railroads. They all work great. So definitely check out Smiley antenna for rubber duck antennas. I think it's DPN Productions is another company that's out there on the internet that makes some really great railroad antennas. I think it's DPN Productions. I can't remember the exact thing. But they make some really good railroad antennas as well. So if you're looking for a base mobile antenna or a base antenna, definitely take a look at their website. Interoperability is the best system. So David mentions that. But yeah, the problem is interoperability causes, departments to be able to communicate with one another. Let me just see here. David C. mentions I've been skating for 50 years. These have been the best years for skating. You can't beat the power of these repeaters that are putting out now. Back in the day when it all was simplex and low power, I love skating. You're absolutely right. I mean, you're getting a lot of more range, especially on some of this digital stuff, on trunking stuff that's in the clear. You're able to hear across the county where you probably couldn't back in the day because it was, low power and it wasn't, it was just meant to cover the city and then maybe just outside the city limits. But depending on what tower you're listening to, you could be listening to something that's across the county that you would have never heard before. Just want to say that the SDS 200 and ProScan sends audio display to other PCs in your house. Works great. Yeah, I love the ProScan technology. They really, the gentleman that operates ProScan puts out a great product. So if you're looking for a true to virtual screen of your scanner screen, ProScan is definitely one of those companies that's really taken a lot of time to kind of match that virtual display spot on. So definitely that's a really cool software. The zip code function on the SDS 100 and 200 or any of the for instance, any of the database scanners. There's pluses and minuses to it. I wouldn't use the zip code based scanning for your day-to-day programming. A lot of times what it's doing is when you put in that zip code, it's looking at data that's behind the scenes on radio reference. And this is latitude, longitude, and center points. And what will end up happening is it'll pull in way too much. Depending on how things are geotagged in the database, it may pull in way too much. So usually when I use an SDS 100, 200, 436, 536, Home Patrol, you get the gist. I create what's called a favorites list. So I go into the database and basically pick out the cities or towns or even the channels or talk groups that I want to monitor. Select those individually and append those to a favorites list. When you do that, you're customizing the programming. So when you run that favorites list, you're only listening to the things that you want to listen to. Versus when you enter in the zip code, the scanner is looking at latitude, longitude, and if it's not geotagged correctly, then you're monitoring a whole bunch of stuff, and you're getting very friendly with the avoid button. You're like, oh, this again, I don't want to listen to this. Avoid, 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 avoid. And then if you're not double tapping that avoid, the next time you're rebooting that radio, guess what? All those temporary avoids have gone away. So with the new radios, basically with avoid, you tap it once, it's temporary. So basically what happens is when you reboot the radio and turn it back on, all the temporary avoids have turned off. If you double tap the avoid on that favorites list or scan list, it permanently avoids it until you tell the system to do anything else. Bill is asking a question about the future of the SDS 200. Will the price ever drop? As of right now, I do not know. Basically, Uniden has established map pricing on the SDSs. The reason for it was the mom and pop scanner companies, Scanner Master being one of them, was getting their rear end handed to them by Amazon. Because Amazon was dropping scanner prices. They don't care. They were dropping the prices below, suggested MSRP because they could. I mean, with Amazon, it's a big company. So think of it. If we sell these cups for $1 and take a loss, and then we sell, this Stanley, and we charge full price for it, it all balances out in the grand scheme of things. You know, the extra profit we make on this allows us to sell this for cheaper. So what Uniden did with the SDS 100 and 200 is establish map pricing for equal playing field for all the companies. Scannermaster is a mom and pop type of business versus the big boy, the Amazon. So they kind of have to stay within map pricing. So I think what happens with map pricing is basically Uniden says, okay, you're able to drop this price down to this, and then everybody's able to do it. It creates a level playing field. So that's a little bit about that. So I'm not too sure when the price will ever lower. I have no clue. But great question. Let's see what else we got here. Wow, you guys are living it up tonight. Yeah, so Dave C. mentions about zip code scanning. Right on the money with that. Yeah. When you run your zip code, it's going to pull in everything in its uncle. And the thing is, you're going to be going, oh my God, taking so long to scan too. So with scanning, and I've always do this on our programming shows, less is more. If you throw in everything in the kitchen sink, including the kitchen sink, into the scanner, it's going to take it so darn long to go from scan from the beginning to the end, scanning from the beginning to the end. So you realize that your scanner is going to get through all this crap in order to be able to see what's going on there. If you have less of the scanner, your scanner is able to go through that a lot faster. So that means if you've got something going on in one of the towns that you're monitoring, and they talk about it on the radio, and then the radio starts scanning again, more than likely it's going to cycle back fast enough so you're going to be able to hear more activity of that event. Versus you're scanning 1,000 things. You're going to hear, we've got a fire call in Hamilton, and then you won't hear anything again because your scanner's going to get stopped on one of the 1,000 things in between that channel or talk group to the next. So you want to make sure when you set up your scanner, less is more. You could always create as many favorites lists when it comes to these database scanners as you want. You could also enable more than one favorites list at the same time. So you could have 2 favorites lists running at the same time. You could set up different configurations. Let's say you want to listen to Hamilton, Ohio, and that's all you want to listen to tonight. So you could do a favorites list just for that, and just listen to that. Let's say it's a dead night for Hamilton. So you want to turn on other favorites lists. Maybe you have them by individual city or town. Maybe you want to turn on Fairfield. And you want to turn on some of the other surrounding towns. You could do that. So with a favorites list, you could do as many favorites lists on any of these Uniden database scanners. Great question about the Sentinel software. I use the Sentinel software, the full database. Yes. So basically what ends up happening, those of you that don't get the gist of the Sentinel software. So Uniden is going to deal with radio reference. So each Sunday, radio reference and Uniden communicate. Well, more so Uniden communicates from radio reference, grabs the latest and greatest database from radio reference, and then it's available. And then in turn, you go into your Sentinel software, you update the database inside the software. You could then write that database to the radio, or the other thing you could do is once you've updated that internal database in your scanner, you can go ahead and create a favorites list with the software, and then write it to the scanner. But yes, the radio reference database is inside of the Sentinel software. So the great thing with, for instance, investing in one of these database scanners, which do cost a little bit more money, and you're also paying for that as well. And the Sentinel software, being able to get access to the radio reference database, it's not updated, every single day, but there's a new update typically on Sunday, which you can ping. Now the difference with using another software outside of the Sentinel software is you have to use the paid subscription in order to be able to access the radio reference database. The only time you don't have to do that is within the Sentinel software because it's included. Hopefully that makes sense. IM mentions it. The best reason to make a scaleless or favorites list versus zip code, you won't be getting all those old VHF channels that are no longer being used. You had a lot of times, the old police channel or the fire channel maybe still listed on radio reference. So when you put in that zip code, you're going to be scanning all that stuff. And there may be some goodies there. If the police or fire department is using that as a secondary channel, you may get some interesting monitoring. But for the most part, if they're not using it, you're slowing down your scanning speed. The other thing with buying, and a lot of people praise Amazon, for buying a scanner. Now, I know that I worked at Scanner Master, but the thing is you're paying a little bit more for the scanner there. You know why? Because you could call somebody and talk to somebody that's knowledgeable about the product. When you go to the big box store, Amazon, there's no 1-800 number to talk to a scanner expert. And you're also supporting, when you do like a business like Scanner Master, you're supporting a mom and pop business. It's a small brick and mortar building. It's not multiple distribution centers across the country. So what I recommend, yes, supporting a smaller business can cost a little bit more money. But the thing is, you're getting customer service. You're getting a telephone number to call somebody. You're actually able to talk to a human being versus emailing back and forth, about anything that's going on with your order or a return or anything like that. So keep that in mind. Yes, you may be able to get scanners a little bit cheaper on Amazon, but the thing is you're not getting any scanner customer service at all from them. They're just taking a product, shoving it into a box, and shipping it to you. Matter of fact, the person that's putting it into the box has no clue what it does or what it is, or probably doesn't even care. They're just putting it in a box, shipping it to you. That's what it is. It's just a big box store. So definitely keep that in mind. Somebody asked about my locks. So this is part of my day job. So I work at a company that does access control. So I do have some of these locks that are here. We also sell locks for some of the smart home stuff and what such. So that's part of my day job. So there's a different computer that I use, and that's my backdrop for behind me. And so happens to be a little bit on the screen here. There's a lot more stuff that's over here. But that's what that is. Sorry, I'm just looking at the... James mentions about, should I get the waterfall feature on the SDS 100? Okay. So the waterfall feature is a really cool feature to allow you to be able to discover activity on a frequency band, essentially. So if I wanted to put in the railroad band from 160 to 162, blah, 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 megahertz, what I could see in the waterfall is spikes of activity. So it's able to look at a whole frequency band and be able to see that. So it depends. Like if you're interested in finding new frequencies or being able to see what it looks like on a particular frequency band to see where the activity or the popular busy channels are, yes. If you don't plan on using it, you don't need to get it. The other thing, too, is if you use the Butel software, I believe he has some of his software, he has the waterfall feature. So if you're already using Butel, maybe you make sure that the version that you have has the waterfall feature. If not, maybe you get the waterfall feature on the computer versus on the scanner. So it all depends. The thing about it is, what I tell people, and when I used to do sales for Scanner Master, I wasn't the type of person that upsold you on crap that you didn't need. So essentially, what my goal was is to find the best scanner for you. Like, sure, I could sell everybody and their uncle the SDS 100, but is that the best scanner for you? And that was my philosophy when I was selling at Scanner Master, is like, how are you using this radio? What do you look at the monitor? What's the most important to you? So that's kind of the things that I kind of, when I did sales at Scanner Master, I basically asked discovery questions. I wanted to learn, how you're using the radio, what are you monitoring, what's the most important features to you? Are you able to program the radio? Are you able to use a computer, for programming if you had to? So, and then of course, if they said no to, that, then I offered programming services. But a lot of times I would narrow it down and give them their options. This is, option A and option B, maybe an option C. And then kind of give them, okay, so if you go with this, this is going to be your benefits here. If you go with this is your benefits here, and here's your benefits of this. So I was never that type of person that kind of upsell people. I'm sure you could sell the catalog to every customer, but do they really need it? In some cases, no. The same thing with this waterfall feature. And that would be a conversation that I would have, with you as a customer. If you called me up, I said, this is what it does. Do you see a need for you to be able to use this? And if you don't, then I'm not gonna. Is that something I'm gonna sell to you? I mean, like, that's kind of how it should be. But a lot of places, they just want to upsell you on crap you don't need, and that's the end of it. So I've gotten a couple of Railfanning questions, and I kind of want to mention that I'm actually hosting a Railfan Summit here in Cincinnati. Now, anybody can join this event. So if you're anywhere in the country, around the world, you could definitely join this event online. So it'll be Saturday, January the 18th, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you're not from the area, you can join via online. You could definitely register at trainaficionado.com/events. This event is presented by Train Aficionado and the Scanner Guys. And this will be a 1 to 6 p.m., so it's the afternoon. This is Eastern Time. We will have a rail fanning with a scanner workshop. We'll have a drone 101 workshop. And then we'll have a guest speaker that'll talk about Cincinnati railroads. If you're into history, Cincinnati railroads has got a really cool history. But this is open to anybody around the world. You can register online. If you do register for the online version of it versus the in-person, the online is going to be available up to 30 days, the videos. So if you're not able to be present on Saturday, January the 18th, you could register, and then you could watch those videos as they sit for the next 30 days. So you're able to watch at your convenience. And there'll be 3 videos, actually. There'll be the drone one. So if you're interested in the drone one, you could watch that one. If you're interested in the rail fitting with the scanner, that'll be a separate video. And then the Cincinnati railroads, that will be a separate video as well. There'll be a couple of guest speakers, including myself. I'll be the host of the summit. I will be actually covering the rail fanning with the scanner. We actually have a gentleman doing the drones, and then we have another gentleman doing the railroads now and then in Cincinnati. So some really great stuff. I'm really looking forward to this. You guys that are around the world or across the country, sign up. It's going to be a great presentation. And this will be the first time I'm doing a Railfan Summit. So hopefully next year we'll do another one of these. Different topics, maybe different guest speakers, or maybe updated on some of these topics. Because always, technology, especially the scanner industry, is always changing. And I'm sure with the drone, technology is changing as well. So really looking forward to doing that. And that'll be next month. What would be a good base antenna for the handheld SDS 100 that can be easily installed? You've got a plethora of antennas when it comes to base antennas. The only thing that I would be cautious about is making sure that scanner is at a secure spot, and you don't want to put a lot of pressure on that SMA connector that's on the scanner. So you want to make sure that you have your shack set up. Maybe set your SDS on one of these things that kind of keeps it, in place. And then, of course, use more of a lightweight coax cable connected to that radio versus connecting it to an LMR 400, which is kind of a stiff connector. And you don't want to put pressure on the connector. So as for antennas, diamond disc cone, and there's so many different other antennas out there. There's a wide variety of them. If you've gone to the Scanner Master website, if you go to the antennas and then you go to base antennas, there's going to be top picks. So there'll be a page with all the top pick antennas, and it'll be broken out to basic, better, and best. So that's probably a starting point there. But it's a huge, when it comes to antennas, there's a lot of options when it comes to scanners. And there's a lot of opinions that are out there as well. And there'll be people that'll say, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best. A lot of it's opinionated, what people are listening to, where they're at, what antenna maybe the antenna that works great for me may not be the best antenna works for you, because maybe you're in a more rural area and you need something a little different. Or maybe I'm in a city and I don't need something, terribly expensive. I could put up a paperclip and pick up, pretty decent reception. So it all really depends. There's so many different rubber duck antennas that are out there. Some that are way better over the standard rubber duck antennas. So you can take a look at that as well. But when it comes to antennas, you'll see on the channel, we've done several broadcasts about antennas right here on this YouTube channel, and there's a lot of options. And I try to go through some of the best options that are available. So I believe I've even done a show on the YouTube channel, Basic, Better, and Best, when it comes to rooftop antennas. But really, those antennas will work on an SDS, they'll work on a 436, they'll work on Hole Patrol, they'll work on a GRE PSR 500, they'll work all over the place. Just because, it's the SDS 100 doesn't mean, these antennas don't work. I mean, they're scanner antennas. They're going to work on various radios. It just depends on the connector. Of course, you need to have the appropriate connector to connect up to the scanner. That's where the key thing is. Let's see. I know there's been a lot of comments. Hopefully I've gotten to most of your questions. I know it's hard. I'm doing this solo, so I'm literally talking, reading, and looking at the same time. So I do apologize if I missed anybody's questions or comments. But, I appreciate everyone that's writing in tonight. But yeah, next month, Scanner Guys will be on the third Wednesday of every month, starting next month. And then, of course, Train Aficionado Live will be the first Wednesday of every month. So we're going to be running these shows twice a month. Once a month for each show, but 2 shows a month, essentially. And then I'll be adding some bonus content in there as well, trickling that in. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. That's a big thing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because you'll get notifications when we drop some produced videos. Remember those crystal radios with a booster. Yeah, crystal radios. I mean, I still hear people that use a crystal radio for some analog stuff that's still out there. They say it works like a champ. It works great. I mean, a lot of those crystal radios were built like a brick, and it's indestructible. And I still hear people talk about the crystal radios. Unfortunately, it's a lot harder to get the crystals nowadays. But yeah, I still hear people talk about crystal radios. Let's see how I'm doing on time here. We're almost at an hour. Okay, I'll probably wrap this up in a few minutes. Scott mentions a great tip. Using an SD card reader to update his SD card scanners. Especially if your vehicle, you have a scanner mounted in there. Like for me, I have the 536. Rather than taking my scanner out of the car or bringing out a laptop, I just eject the SD card. I put the SD card into an SD card reader, connect it up to the Sentinel software, and do that. Am I a locksmith? I saw that question. No, I'm not. Basically, I sell what's called access control. So cards and fobs. Let's say, hospitals, schools. So you can see this is a fob that I have here. And then cards. So typically, I sell access control. So how it works is, let's say, you're working at a place that has access control. They'll either issue you a card or a fob, and then you'll use this to be able to get into the spaces that they allow you to get into spaces. So I basically sell this, and then these are some of the items that actually use a card or a fob, which you could credential at, along with our access control system. So some of these are used in multifamily settings, where maybe they have access control of the laundry room and the pool and the gym, and then their same card or fob can be used at their residential lock. So they'll go up to their apartment or condo and then use their card, fob, or mobile pass to be able to get into their suite. So that's what I do during my daytime job is I work selling access control. So I'm an inside salesperson for them. So that's why I have this here because, it's my back. When I'm on my work laptop, it's over here, so that's the background. But, when I'm doing this show, this is not important. But it does show up a little bit. New York City Fire Department, it's going to be encrypted. That I don't know. I just think encryption when it comes to fire departments is pretty dangerous. The reason being, if a department's going to digital decoding is already a pain in the butt already. So basically, with digital communication, I'm going to break it down simple level. This is not it's not the geeky level of it, but I'm going to break it down to layman's terms. So with digital communications, key the mic, radio transmission goes through the air. It's a binary code, zeros and ones. Goes up to a repeater, which then the repeater repeats it out, and then that binary code goes through the air again. And then on my radio, on the receive frequency, I could hear the other person communicating. With encryption adds another layer on top of the binary code. So with digital, it's either crystal clear, hiccups, or nothing at all. When you add encryption on top of that, the radio is going to do two things. It's going to decode the digital binary code, and it's also going to decode the encryption. So what ends up happening is when you're in a spot where reception's not that great, sometimes encryption hinders the communication because maybe where I'm transmitting right now in the clear, it'll work. When I turn the encryption on, because I'm on the fringe of the system, my radio doesn't work. So typically with fire departments, especially in New York City, you're going into buildings. And some buildings, maybe have internal repeaters, or the trucks have repeaters on them. But you're going into places a lot of times, into buildings where the radio system may or may not have been fully vetted. So you may run into dead spots inside of a building. So I'm thinking, with digital and then encryption, you're creating, even more blind spots with the encryption. But I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer whether or not New York City. I haven't been following, the ongoings of New York and some of the other areas. Thank you for the tip on the cough. So yes, very much so. Hit the nail right in the head with our latest comment there, with television being digital. So, way back when, with analog over-the-air television, you used to be able to watch a channel, and it could be a snowy picture, being able to watch. I was raised as a kid with no cable, so I had rabbit ears on the TV, and I watched a lot of television stations. And we were on the fringe of some of the television stations, so the signal was a bit fuzzy. Excuse me. So, when digital came around, it's either a beautiful picture or nothing at all, or it pixelates. So, kind of, lost some channels when they went digital. So, because if you're on the fringe of it, you used to be able to get that snowy picture when it was analog, and then when they went to digital, you either got it or you didn't. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about it is, David, you hit a valid point there. So a lot of times, they go through a company, a vendor, and the companies try to sell them the latest and greatest technology. And, oh, yeah, you want digital, or you want encryption, you want this, you want that. And a lot of times the salesperson is trying to make a sale, they try to make as much money off this job as possible. And for some of these salespeople, they're probably not thinking this is going to create an issue down the road for this department. For instance, the fire department. Let's say they say, oh yeah, you want to go digital, you want to go, encrypted, and all this stuff. And then they go and do it, and they go into a building, and they've got blind spots. And that's absolutely right. Digital, you either have a signal or you don't. It sounds great until it sucks, essentially, when it comes to digital. It's either going to be a really great, clear radio transmission, and when you have an issue with reception, it sucks. It's bad. And Dale mentions digital doesn't like the multipathing. It doesn't like it. I mean, there's a lot of things with digital that's a pain in the rear end. And, like us with scanners, we're always wanting to, get the latest bells and whistles with scanners. The two-way radio companies doing the same thing. Mother M or Motorola, they're just trying to sell the same type of radio with more bells and whistles, essentially. Oh, you gotta have this because it's got this, this, and this. And they're trying to make a fast buck wherever they can. Regency radios. Yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot of, these old school. I mean, think about it. Back in the day when there was crystal radios, there was a lot more companies making scanners. And those of you that enjoy the broadcast, like we talked about Whistler. I've had several people ask me about Whistler. I have no clue what went on over there. I know their website's down. It shows that they're temporarily closed. I don't know if they went out of business or what. IM is asking about does Salo boosters make a difference with P25? I can tell you that, the Strasbourg multicouplers, the little preamp in there, helps with sub radio transmissions, but keep in mind, if you're dealing with a P25 system trunking and you've got simulcast, boosting that signal is not going to help you at all, especially when it comes to simulcast. Because, the radio is, when it's simulcast, basically, if you're right in the middle of two towers, so say we got a tower here and a tower here, and the scanner's right here. With simulcast, basically the two radios are talking to the scanner at the same time. And you know what that's like when two people are talking at the same time. You're getting parts and pieces of this conversation, parts and pieces of this conversation. Think about it. Now, this is what simulcast does, is it's the two same communications at the same exact time. Now, imagine the mess of the binary code. So the binary code from this radio transmission is the same as this radio transmission, is hitting your scanner at the same time. Your scanner is going, holy crap! I can't understand this. I can't decode this binary code. So the technology that's inside of the Unication G4, G5, or the SDS 100 and 200 addresses this, where it knows, okay, I'm getting a good signal from this tower, and I'm also getting a good signal from this tower. I know I'm going to ignore one of these, and I'm going to focus on the one that, focus on the one tower, versus getting it for both and go, that's basically what's happening there. So that's my version of what's happening with simulcast. So somebody mentioned about having a backup for some of these communications on analog. In some parts of the country, some of these digital systems are simulcasted on analog. Because of maybe there is a neighboring community that wants to be able to monitor, their system, and it's an analog simulcast. So it all really depends. In certain parts of the country, there may be, of course they're on the trunk system, and there may be an analog simulcast. But you'll have to go looking for those types of communications. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I really wish there was a lot more of that, because at least if you could get some of the main dispatch communication, that would be kind of cool. Some of the towns actually keep their licenses active for some of their old analog systems. So it may be handy when crap hits the fan, if it ever does, maybe scanning some of these analog channels to see if there's any activity. But for the most part, a lot of departments have shifted over to digital and kind of went away with their old systems. But yeah, the simulcast is a total nightmare. When you're monitoring simulcast, it can be. Thankfully, I could take off my scanners are right here. I could take the antenna off. I'm so close to one of the Mark's trunk system towers. I don't even need an antenna on it. The signal will come booming in without an antenna. That's how close I am. Thank the good Lord I'm close to it, because I wouldn't want to be in the middle of two towers in a county where there's simulcast, because it drives you bonkers, because the radio will blip, 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 or you won't get anything at all because the radio is confused. It doesn't know what to listen to. I think that's it. I think I've answered all the questions up to now. I hope. If I did miss your question, I'm so sorry. I don't typically go this long for the for the broadcast, but it seemed like everybody was kind of looking for an Ask the Scanner guys, so this was kind of an impromptu. This will be the last Scanner guys show for the year. I will be off on Christmas, which is the next Wednesday. Trade Aficionado Live will be airing the first episode in 2025 on New Year's Day. More than likely it'll be a produced. Discovery. That's something I'll have to mess with. I really haven't used the Discovery a ton. That's something definitely that I'll have to reacquaint myself with. But yeah, I could definitely see about doing a show about Discovery. Yes, David C. When you are creating a favorites list and you're listening to, let's say, a system that's as big as Mark's system, when you go and select a talk group or a group of talk groups and you create it into a favorites list, guess what happens? So it grabs those talk groups, and when you create the favorites list, and then it grabs all the towers for that system. So if this is for a scanner that's staying in your home, delete out all the sites of that for that system in that favorites list, and then only just scan the sites that are near your house. And that's usually helpful. Asking about a SDR dongle. Will it work with a Chromebook? That I'm not sure. Because the Chromebooks basically have a Google type of, I don't know what they call their operating system, but essentially it is Google's operating system. So it's more like apps inside a computer, essentially. So you would have to look at the dongle that you're going to be using and see what operating systems it supports. More than likely it'll be Windows or something of that nature. I haven't used SDRs, but I'm not sure, if there's any support when it comes to a Chromebook. It may be a Windows OS operating system. Yes, I am. You're absolutely correct. Weather has full effect on your monitoring. Sometimes, systems work better when it's snowing. Sometimes, things don't work so great when it's raining or wind or weather has a full effect, even right down to the fog. So yeah, you'll experience all types of weather-related things when it comes to reception. So definitely keep that in mind. A question about the SDS, not the SDS, but the TX2. I'm guessing you're referring to with Whistler being out of the picture. Will Uniden reintroduce a remote head to a scanner? I don't know the answer. I know that Scanner Master is working on a remote head. I don't know when that's going to be released. At some point, they're going to release a remote head. Basically, it's a digital screen with some couple of controls, and basically bringing up the screen up so it's essentially a remote head. It's not, like a pure remote head, like the back in the day, the RH96. That's when Uniden made a true remote head. It basically was the front of the radio with all the knobs, screen, and keypad, smaller form, brought up to the front of the vehicle. You could slap the scanner, under the seat or in the trunk or wherever you wanted to put the scanner. But the RH96 was a true remote head. And that worked really well. But Scanner Master is working on their version of a remote head. I don't know if Uniden will look at doing a remote head. I mean, that'd be kind of cool if they did a detachable remote head, like, for instance, the TX2, because really it's a detachable remote head from the scanner itself, not a an additional part that you need to build and purchase. It's already, it's contained within the scanner. Most two-way radios do have that detachable remote head. My friend Chuck actually loaned me this Yaesu radio to try out, and basically it has a detachable remote head, but you can run it just like this, the way it's attached to the rear end of the radio, or you could take the head apart, put the rear end somewhere underneath the seat, and then put that head somewhere else. So, I mean, I hope, that Uniden comes out with something really cool, when they do release whatever they eventually do release, any new scanners. Are indoor freestanding antennas any good? So basically, that all depends on where you put that antenna. I mean, we've had viewers put antennas in attics, which helps, it kind of gets the scanner antenna up and up, out and up, but not up and out. Yes, the BCD 536HP app, which is the Siren app, you can use the app is basically a virtual remote control head for your scanner. You can use that within the Wi-Fi network that your scanner is connected to. So basically, there's a dongle that comes with your 536. You either make it so it communicates directly to the dongle, or you make that dongle communicate to your Wi-Fi network, and then basically you're able to listen and control your scanner from your iPad or iPhone or an Android phone from another room. So that's kind of a remote head type of style thing. But as for the freestanding antennas, it all depends on where it's located. If you're getting it higher up, that's a huge benefit. If you're getting it by a window, that's another benefit. But typically, when it comes to scanner antennas for the home, if you're able to get the scanner antenna up and out of the building, that's usually the best results. But if you're able to get the antenna higher up or in a better spot by an exterior room, by a window, that will also help too. So lots of different things when it comes to antennas. All right, I've gone an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to wrap up this show for tonight. I thank you all for all your questions. If you haven't already, sign up for the Cincinnati Railfan Summit. Since you guys, many of you are not from the Ohio area, you can register for an online seat. We have unlimited space when it comes to the online. In person, we do have limited spots available. You could do that by going to trainaficionado.com/events. I will be the summit host. We'll have guest speakers talking about drones, and of course a little bit of a history lesson with the Cincinnati railroads now and then. Such rich history here when it comes to the railroads. That's going to be a really cool presentation. One more question here. Looking for a base and a mobile that has a matching handheld that covers all the frequency ranges. So most radios, and depending on what type of frequency bands you're looking for, have a brother or sister model when it comes to Uniden. So the SDS 100 is the handheld, SDS 200 is the base mobile. So they're brother sister models. They're going to have essentially the same features for the most part, the same frequency coverage. It's just form factor at this point. One being a base mobile, one being a portable. So that's one brother sister model of each other. Then you also have the 536, which is a base mobile, and the 436 is the handheld on Uniden. That's another option. When it comes to clean slate scanners at the digital level, you're looking at the BCD 325P2 and then the BCD 996P2. So those are the basically SDSs, the HPs, and then you have the clean slate scanners, which is the 325 and the 996. So take a look at those radios, see what's appealing to you, and those are the equivalent brother-sister models. So I'm not too sure what frequency bands that you're looking for. If you're looking for continuous coverage, those radios are going to have almost continuous coverage. But take a look at the specs on those and then kind of determine which fits your needs. All right, I will wrap this up. As I mentioned earlier, this will be the last show of the year for Train Aficionado and the Scanner Guys. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all. Appreciate every one of you watching this evening. We hope that you have a great night. We'll catch you again in the new year. Remember, Train Aficionado, first Wednesday of every month. Scanner Guys, third Wednesday of every month. And then periodically, both channels, there'll be additional nuggets of cool shows that'll drop. And of course, check out the websites. Train Aficionado and the Scanner Guys both have blogs. I plan on, hopefully, fingers crossed, doing some more blog entries as well. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll catch you again in the new year.